Welcome to Saturday Morning Coffee Break. My name is Fleetus Poston, and today we're going to dive into the insider threat you're likely ignoring when your security tools become your attack vector. Here's the Saturday morning irony: the tools you bought to protect you might be your biggest vulnerability. You've invested millions in your security stack: SIEM, EDR, vulnerability scanners, your privilege access management, security orchestration platforms. You've got dashboards monitoring everything, alerts for suspicious activity, and automated responses to threats. Here's the uncomfortable question: who's monitoring your security tools? Because while you've been busy securing your infrastructure, your security tools have become the most privileged, most trusted, and likely the most dangerous assets inside of your environment. And almost nobody is thinking about what happens when they get compromised. Welcome to the insider threat we've been ignoring: your own security infrastructure. The keys to your kingdom. Think about that with your security tools, what they can do. Your SIEM collects everything: every log, every authentication event, every network flow. It sees passwords in clear text when users mistype them. It captures API keys when they appear in logs. It knows your entire network topology, who accesses what and when. Your vulnerability scanner has credentials everywhere: domain admin, root access, cloud admin roles. It needs high privileges to scan effectively. These credentials are stored somewhere, transmitted somehow, and used consistently. Your PAM solution holds every privileged password: database admin creds, cloud admin key, service accounts passwords for your critical systems. It's the crown jewel vault. And if compromised, attackers have instant access to everything. Your EDR agent run a system and root on endpoints. They can see every process, read every file, intercept every network connection. They're the perfect surveillance platform, whether you control them or someone else does. Your SOAR platform has API access to everything. It can create firewall rules for you, modify your AD groups, disable accounts, quarantine your systems. It's designed for automated response, which means it's designed for powerful, fast changes across your entire infrastructure. So now ask yourself, what happens when one of these gets compromised? The SolarWinds wake-up call that most of us missed. Everyone remembers SolarWinds as a supply chain attack. What many organizations missed is what it actually demonstrated. Compromising a trusted tool that has deep access across the environment is an ultimate attack vector. The SolarWinds Orion is a monitoring and management platform, essentially a security and operations tool. It had privileged access everywhere to do its job. When attackers compromised it, they inherited all that access, all that trust, and all that visibility. The brilliance wasn't just getting into SolarWinds, it was understanding that SolarWinds customers had given the platform the keys to their kingdom and worked monitoring it as an attack vector. The lesson most organizations still haven't learned: your security and management tools are the highest value targets in your organization. And you're probably not treating them that way, which leads us to a trust paradox. Here's the fundamental problem: security tools require extensive privileges to protect you, but those same privileges make them incredibly dangerous if compromised. You can't effectively monitor for threats without deep visibility, so your SIEM needs access to everything. You can't scan for vulnerabilities without elevated credentials, so your scanner runs as admin. You can't manage privileged access without storing privileged credentials, so your PAM becomes a single point of credential compromise. You can't respond to threats without the ability to make system changes, so your SOAR platform has God mode API access. This is the trust paradox. The tools designed to protect you require the exact privileges that make them the perfect attack vector. But let's dive into some real world attack scenarios. Let me paint the picture of some scenarios that might keep me and you up at night. The first is the compromised SIEM. an attacker gained access to your SIEM through a phishing attack on a security analyst. Now they can see all the security alerts and active investigations. They know what you know. They delete logs on their own activity, understand your complete network topology and crown jewels, identify security gaps by seeing what you're not monitoring. They harvest credentials from clear text logs. The next scenario, the weaponized vulnerability scanner. Your vulnerability scanner credentials are stolen. The attacker now has admin level access to every system in scope. They know every vulnerability in your environment. They can use the scanner's trusted network position to pivot, allowing them to leverage legitimate scheduled scans to hide malicious activity. The next scenario is the insider with PAM access. A disgruntled security administrator with PAM access decides to cause damage, extracts all privileged creds before leaving, creates backdoor accounts with administrative access, documents your entire security architecture for future exploitation, and sells access to the environment on the dark web forums. The next scenario is the Poison EDR update. Remember CrowdStrike's July 2024 incident? A flawed update called global outages. Now imagine if this wasn't an accident, but an attack. EDR agents run on the endpoint as privileged rights. A malicious update could deploy ransomware enterprise-wide or install persistent backdoors on every machine simultaneously. Then exfil data from every endpoint at once. The monitoring blind spot. Here's what's probably true in your organization. You monitor user behavior extensively. The logins, unusual access patterns, and data exfiltration attempts. You monitor server activity as well, process creation, network connections, and file access. But your security tools, you're in the trusted zone. You assume to be benign. Their actions are expected and therefore not scrutinized. This creates a massive blind spot. Who's auditing your SIEM admins? Who's monitoring the access to your vulnerability scanner credentials? Who's watching what your EDR agents are actually doing? Thus, who's reviewing your SOAR automation changes? If the answer is nobody or the security team monitors it themselves, you've got a problem. Next is the vendor trust problem. It gets worse. You're not just trusting your security team, you're trusting every security vendor you've deployed. They can push updates to their agents and tools. What if an attacker compromises your vendor? What if nation state pressures them? What if a disgruntled vendor employee goes rogue? They often have remote access to support you. That support portal or remote access capability is a potential entry point into your environment. Your vendors collect telemetry from your environment. Where does that data go? Who has access to it? How long is it retained? They're a supply chain. Each vendor has their own vendors, contractors, and dependencies. You're trusting that entire chain. The SolarWinds breach proved this isn't theoretical. It's real, active attack patterns that sophisticated adversaries will use. So what actually works? You can't eliminate the need for privileged security tools, but you can stop treating them as immune from scrutiny. First, treat security tools as critical infrastructure. Your security tools should be in your most protected network segment, with the strictest access controls monitored more carefully than anything else. If your SIEM is just another server on your corporate network, you're doing it wrong. Second, implement defense in depth for your security tools. Separate administrative access from regular users. Require MFA for any security tool access, no exceptions. Implement just-in-time access for privileged operations. Air gap security tool credentials from your main credential store, and use separate hardened jump boxes for security tool administration. Thirdly, monitor the monitors. Create an independent monitoring layer specifically for your security tools. Log all security tool administration access to a separate, immutable store. Alert on unusual access patterns to security tools. Audit security tool configuration changes. Monitor network traffic from security tools for anomalies. And review security tool access logs independently. Fourth, assume breach for your security stack. Run tabletop exercises. If our SIEM is compromised, if our EDR vendor is breached, how would you detect it? How would you respond? What's your recovery plan? What backup detection and response capabilities do we have? Fifthly, minimize privilege and trust. Just because a tool can have domain admin doesn't mean it should. Use dedicated service accounts with minimal necessary privileges. Rotate security tool credentials frequently. Segment your environment so compromise of security tools doesn't mean total compromise. Implement segmentation across your trusted security tools. Sixth, vendor risk management actually matters. Stop treating vendor security questionnaires as compliance theater. Understand your vendor's security practices deeply. Know their incident response history. Have contractual breach notification requirements and maintain the ability to switch vendors if needed. Consider on-prem deployments for the highest risk tools. So here's our coffee break assessment. This Saturday morning, honestly evaluate. If your SIEM was compromised tomorrow, how long would it take you to detect it? If the answer is we'd probably never know until the breach disclosure, you have a monitoring blind spot. Who has administrative access to your security tools? And when's the last time you audited that access? If you can't immediately name everyone with access and their business justification, you have an access control problem. What's your recovery plan if your security tools are the entry point for a breach? If your incident response plan assumes your security tools are trustworthy, it's not a complete plan. How many of your security vendors could push a malicious update to your environment right now? If the answer is all of them and you're comfortable with that, you're trusting too much. So the uncomfortable truth again, the same tool that give you visibility, control, and protection are also the most dangerous assets in your environment if misused and or compromised. You've built an incredible security stack to protect against external threats, but you've also created a powerful, privileged infrastructure that itself needs protecting. The weakest link in your security stack isn't the technology. It's the assumption that the security tools don't need to be secured. Attackers have figured this out. They've actively targeted security infrastructure because it's a high value and often under. They know that compromising your monitoring tools means you can't see them. Compromising your response tools means you can't disable your defenses. Compromising your credential management means they own everything. The question isn't whether your security tools are a potential attack vector. They absolutely are. The question is whether you're treating them that way. So here's our Monday action. Pick one of your high privilege security tools. Audit who has access to it. Review its network segmentation. Check how its actions are monitored. Ask yourself honestly, if an attacker compromised this, would we know? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, you just identified your weekend project. Because the insider threat you should be most worried about isn't a malicious employee. It's your own security infrastructure being turned against you. So let's build a checklist. First, security tools on separate hardened segments. Independent logging for all your security tools. MFA is required for any security tool access. Regular audits of your security tools administration access. Using separate monitoring for tool behavior. An incident response plan that includes security tool compromise scenarios. Vendor security practices that verify beyond the questionnaire, and then minimal necessary privileges for all the accounts. And lastly, regularly rotate their security creds. So as always, stay safe and stay secure, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you again on our next Saturday morning sipping coffee break. My name is Fleetus Poston. Take care.